Saffron is one of my favorite spices to work with. It really is a unique flavor. It's something unlike anything else. And it's really simple and easy to use as well. But for me, what's really most attractive about it is just the intense color that it has, both in cocktails and food. And it's something that's very, very famous in a lot of different dishes, one being paella, which is the dish from Spain that has all the rice and the seafood and the clams. It's the saffron that makes that rice kind of yellowish orange. So saffron dates back way back to ancient Greece, to the Bronze Age, to 3200 BC. It is also a very, very expensive spice, but there are many ways of getting it inexpensively now. And one, you can easily get it at Whole Foods. There's an incredible farm up in Sacramento called Peace and Plenty that has an amazing, they grow their own saffron and they ship to anywhere in the country that you want. I was lucky enough to grow saffron this year, so I have a deeper appreciation of like the labor that's involved and how few threads come with every bloom of flower. And just to put this into perspective, out of 70,000 plants, you're only getting about 200,000 threads. And what happens is it blooms usually in October. You get those threads, then you still have to dry them for a few months. But just to get 70,000 plants, 200,000 threads, that's 1 pound, can take 40 to 50 hours to harvest that. And that's really the main reason why saffron is so expensive. So what I want to do is I want to show a very, very simple, what I love to do, a very simple single bottle or in-bottle infusion. I'm going to use Mezcal. Mezcal is such a great thing to use for this, mostly because the flavor of this, although it's unique, is subtle too. There's a lot of subtleties of it, and Mezcal being so bold, I think it really kind of helps it out a lot. And what I do is, so this is an espadín. This espadín refers to the type of plant of agave for Mezcal. And the main difference between tequila and Mezcal for the most part is when they take that agave plant, they actually cook it or roast it in the ground sometimes for days. And then they ferment it and then they distill it. And that's really what gives it that smoky flavor. And it's very similar to if you were to have a peaty scotch, you know, like the difference between a Lefroy scotch and a Macallan and the different smoke levels. And I mean, what makes a Macallan scotch or what makes a Lefroy scotch smoky has to do with the peat and where it is on the island and the exposure to the salt air. So it's all of those elements. It's not just the roasting, it's the elements, the altitude, the other things that come into it. And it's a lot more complex. And I think if you were a tequila drinker and a margarita drinker, I think for me too, it was an education. It was really like a shock to the system. But I think it's something that as you understand it, there are different levels. They're not all so filled with like that leathery taste, which I somehow have grown to learn to love. But when making cocktails, this is a great start. Just get a really simple espadín mezcal, and we're going to infuse it with saffron. So I just take a nice big pinch of it. And you'll see that it's pretty significant, right? And you could have a funnel that you could put this through, but if you have a pinch like that, it's pretty simple. You'll be able to get it right down in there. So I'll put it in there like that. And what's nice about this is almost instantaneously, you'll start to see a little yellow bleed go through it. But I'll just start agitating it like this. And what's wonderful about this is something that I can just put in there, set aside, in 15, 20 minutes it's ready to go. I don't have to worry about straining it out. And again, and as you can see, I mean, you can see how quickly that infuses. And don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen right away. You know, not all saffron is created equal. But you'll just agitate it like that, and you'll start to see that kind of yellowish orange come. And that's the beauty. That's the color. That's the color that's coming through. And I make a wonderful cocktail with this where I use the saffron mezcal with red bell pepper and parsley. And it's basically a mezcal margarita with red bell pepper and parsley. And it's a beautiful, and the red bell pepper with that just turns it into this intense kind of orangey red. But I definitely recommend really trying to, in the beginning, to work with the integrity of the saffron and see how that plays, see how you like it. So keep it simple. Maybe you're making some kind of martini with it with vermouth and you're doing half vermouth, half mezcal, saffron mezcal. Maybe you're doing a margarita with it. Keep it simple. 1 ounce of the Mezcal saffron with 1 ounce of tequila margarita with lime and agave. So for me, I always like when I'm working with something new, I like to kind of keep it very simple and see how the color and the flavors play. Listen, you can take this saffron and put it into sparkling water, and that's your water for the night when you squeeze citrus into it. So I find this very versatile, and I think for sure the color is really what shines here.